Hey, Rob, I got my idea for my major project. I'm gonna be doing Deadpool the video game.
I think that's a great idea, but if you want to talk about game developers having troubles with their publishers, you should probably talk about Motive Studio at Dead Space and how EA ruined their franchise instead.
Yeah, well, screw you, Rob.
Deadpool the game, developed by High Moon Studios, who are known for also making the Transformer War and Fall for Cybertron games.
Now let's roll out!
Wrong franchise, buddy.
And published by Activision. The Merc with a Mouth stars his own game, and this game in particular has entered the spotlight again recently with the success of Deadpool and Wolverine at the box office, with no doubt the question of two legendary actors returning to a big role with two iconic characters, so it was kind of obvious that this game was going to sneak out into the spotlight again, right underneath all the rubble of it. And me, previously, who didn't own the game beforehand, I kind of figured if I wanted to talk about the game, I need to actually be able to play the game. But it being over 10 years old, and the only way to obtain it is a physical copy, because all digital versions of the game have been delisted off of many online stores. The only way to obtain it is through aftermarket. God, I hate aftermarket prices. So after obtaining these games, I got a hold of the PS3 version and the PS4 version. The PS3 version played respectively on its console, and the PS4 version played on the PS5 where all my footage is recorded. Now, you would think having the PS4 version would be better to play on. And no, the game constantly freezes and it was horribly optimized, so playing on the PS3 version was actually better to run on without having it consistently freezing. So I have played the game twice now, and I'll say the game's pretty fun. It's like Metal Gear Rising, but Deadpool with less complicated mechanics. Now, if you go into Metacritic and look at the reviews, the game didn't do so hot. But hey, people loved it.
Don't forget to tell them how awesome my game is.
Deadpool, what are you doing here?
Duh, it's my game?
Well, get out of here, you're taking most of the budget.
Budget? Ha! What budget? You're just lazy and you don't want to animate me and put in the effort.
Don't make me Legofy you.
You wouldn't dare.
Well, damn. Anyways, once you're done fooling around in Deadpool's apartment, the first level of the game is a sewer level. Typical. And the combat starts off super simple, having his iconic katanas and dual pistols, and showing you basic combos and a teleport button. And as you play for the game, you can get Deadpool points, which can be used to unlock gadgets, more weapons and upgrades for your weapons, and personal upgrades to die less.
I wanna die! See you in a minute!
And with the more upgrades on your weapons, the more combos you can get with momentum, and the momentum bar is charged by dealing damage, and once the bar is full, you get to use your momentum abilities with that corresponding weapon, which actually adds a little strategy to the game, so you're not just wasting momentum abilities, but at times it's pretty easy to get your momentum back. And it can't be a hack and slash game without a counter. And countering in this game can be really fun, depending on what weapon you use last. It's the weapon you countered with. So either you can counter the enemy with your katanas or the guns, which adds a whole other layer of strategy to the game. Now for the critiques I have of the game's combat. The weapon system isn't the greatest. Not having a weapon wheel where you can cycle for the weapons, which doesn't sound bad at first, but when you're in the heat of combat trying to switch to the right gun you want to use, and actually switch to a different weapon, you have to cycle through the whole thing again while trying to fight bad guys. So on my second playthrough, I only had the pistols and shotguns unlocked because it was just more easier to switch between those two weapons, which I used the most. And the other thing that I didn't like is when you shot your guns, you would go into a third person over the shoulder camera zoom, which is nice when you're shooting, but when you un-ADS with the weapons, your camera is still zoomed in, and the passive timing to put your weapons away takes way too long, especially during combat, so normally I just do a quick light attack to zoom the camera back out. And for a game that came out in 2013, the level design is pretty solid. Each level has their own little fun moments placed throughout the game, and never really felt lost when I was playing the game. And the game makes sure to get use of that teleport button for the environment.
You know, we should probably explain to the player how our teleporter works.
It runs on kitten farts.
No, really. All the nerds out there will want to know.
Fine. For the purposes of creating an entertaining mechanic that players can employ to achieve an optimal amount of fun factor, we limited our teleporter to a shorter range than usual.
Yay!
So good on you, High Moon Studios. The adaptation. What I may believe, and many others think so too, that this is a faithful adaptation of Deadpool from the comics. From the yellow speech boxes, the multiple voices you hear in his head throughout the game, the mid TDDLRs of the characters showing actual comic pages and covers is what to expect from Deadpool.
Who the fuck is that? He's a man out of time. Who the fuck is that? He likes to fight crime. Who the fuck is that? He ain't out the pool. Who the fuck is that? But he ain't a fool. He's fucking Cable.
And because of Deadpool's typical wall breaks fashion, makes a lot of references to the comics and other medias and tons of Easter eggs. So a lot of the time, most of the jokes are you either get it or you don't, which is alright because some of the jokes they do kind of clarify. So when you play it for the game, there's always like constantly running gags and jokes like Deadpool calling High Moon Studios about the budget, how he's breaking the budget. And obviously he's aware that it's own game, so it's like he's constantly talking to the player, which is really cool because in the comics, Deadpool is constantly talking to the reader. So when we play the game, it's really nice and refreshing to see this kind of new experience of Deadpool talking to the player as you play it for the game, like either commenting like, so on deaf screens, he would say like, don't do that again, and just for the record, you suck. Which is fun because it's what you expect from Deadpool. The tragedy.
Damn it, Wade!
Now we kind of go into the little bit of the licensings and development hell that High Moon Studios went with Activision. So at this time, High Moon Studios beforehand was a sub-development studio helping either Treyarch or Infinity Ward make the latest Call of Duty game. And then they got independent, the first games of which was being Transformers War for Cybertron, which was hugely success for them, a huge success. And even getting its own sequel, Fall for Cybertron. And these games were really well received and well beloved by fans across, mainly Transformers fans. So when they were announcing a Deadpool game, that's what got Marvel fans excited, because High Moon Studios had such a good reputation at this point after the Transformers games. But as the greedy company Activision is, as around of the release of Transformers Dark of the Moon, Activision wanted to tie in the game with the movie, but High Moon Studios was not given enough time to make that game. So when the game flopped, the company ran into a lot of troubles, and then after the release of the Deadpool game and having that mixed Metacritic review caused the company to go into bankruptcy. But then after this, shortly around in 2014-2015, when Deadpool the movie was being announced and being released in theaters, Activision got High Moon Studios to release the game again for the newer gen consoles to tie in with the Deadpool movie, but then that also flopped again, having the game delisted off of Steam and PlayStation Xbox. And because of this other L that High Moon Studios took again from Activision, they are now back to being a sub-development team before Treyarch and Infinity Ward making Call of Duty games. And you can find a ton of videos about this online, and I realized after searching on this project that there's not a whole lot of like definitive sources and articles, because obviously that would make Activision have a bad name, even though it's already bad as it is already. It's just really unfortunate to see what happened to High Moon Studios, because we could have had both Marvel and Transformers fans that have a continuation series of those favorite games. Like, heck, we could have had Deadpool 3 the game by now. And like maybe that would have released like 2019, 2018, depending if the first game released in 2013, and if the sequel released around 2015, and then the third in 2019, 2017. Who knows, right? And same goes for Transformers. But no, and this is what also is really sad too, because when High Moon Studios declared bankruptcy again, Activision wanted Transformers game still for the Transformers Age of Extinction movie that was coming in at the time. So they got another studio to make that game, but they copied all the assets from High Moon Studios made from the Transformers games prior. The only new models and assets that they made for that game was Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, Stinger, and Lockdown, and Drift. Those were the only new models and assets that made for the game. The rest of the assets that was in the game was already made prior. So they didn't even make anything new. They just made a couple models, used their old assets that High Moon Studios made, and just put it together to a game and slapped it on and called it a game. So in conclusion, a game that came out in 2013 still holds up to its time for a fun time all-around experience, and overall is a great adaptation of a character translated from comics to game, but it's very hard to obtain due to a lot of legal reasons, developer and publisher reasons. So in other words, Activision sucks. Alright, let's roll credits.
Seriously, roll credits. We're done here.
Holy shit. That was awesome!
Deadpool! Hey! You did it, buddy. Look, I know we've had our differences, but look, I'll admit it. The game rocks. You rock, pal.
Pal.
And I hate to admit this, but we're actually not that much over budget. I didn't want to tell you that before, but now that the game's over, and, you know.
Hey, Peter.
Yeah.
Get your checkbook ready.
No, you're going over budget, damn it! You gotta stop!
This is my jam! Be all that you can be, that is what they told me. Made me all I can be, how they try to mold me. Mix a little bit of the best of the rest. Fight off Weapon X, well, we'll see who's next. Can't expect a miracle, betting on the devil. I'm your best friend if you keep my money level. Never without a gun, I don't hardly flesh it out. Survivable plans are plans I ever think about. That's right, biatch. We keep those guns clean. Yeah, clean as a whistle! In the crib. The crib? It means domicile. I don't know what that means. Crib. Yeah, crib. Like where we live. Who's hungry?
What the fuck just happened? Who wrote this song?